Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on Rash Pixel FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Happy day, Nikki Kinzer.
Yes.
We've been talking a lot about the world according to COVID, and we've been doing a lot of extra podcasts, and we've been talking about how to talk to your kids and dealing with the grief and dealing with all. And today we're going to talk about something that undoubtedly you are dealing with, even if you're not dealing with any of that other stuff. And that is, how the hell do I work from home with all my tech? There are too many choices.
That's right.
We got to figure this out. And so we have a fantastic guest in front of the show back to talk to us about just that. Before we do it, head over to TakeControlADHD.com. You can get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show there on the website or subscribe to the mailing list, and we'll send you an email each time a new episode is released. Connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at TakeControlADHD. And if you're listening live, then I don't need to tell you this. But if you're not, if you're just hearing this in the podcast feed, you might want to check out patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. You join us as a supporter over there at the deluxe or supreme level. You could be watching this on video right now as we're recording from the future. There's a whole time thing, but we would love to have you there. We'd love to have you interacting with our guests and asking questions, and that's what you need to do to get that benefit. Patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. In addition, we do at various levels, there are different benefits. You get to access to the online community, and one of the most important anchors that I think our community has is the accountability channel in our online community on Discord, where our users are helping each other, doing all kinds of study halls on Zoom where you can get on video and just have an accountability partner who's helping you get through the next hour. All kinds of resources are available in our online community on Discord. Again, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast to learn more. To those who are already members, thank you so much. To those just considering it, we are warm and willing welcomers of new people. So come join the fun. Bob LeVitus, Dr. Mac, is a well-known technology authority and author of more than 80 books, including his latest, Working Smarter for Mac Users. He's a tech columnist for the Houston Chronicle, and we're happy to welcome him back today to talk to us about technology now that we're all working from home. Bob, welcome back to the ADHD podcast. Look at you, got your prop book all ready to go.
Prop book. Thank you for having me. It's funny. I've been getting a lot more email than usual from people saying, how do you do it? Because I work at home. I always have. And so one of the things that drove me to write Working Smarter and learn these productivity things is finding out I had ADHD.
Yeah.
Then I became obsessive about okay, so how do I not work 15 hours a day and do 4 hours of work? And that's been my obsession for 20 years. It took that long for it to gel into a book and an online course. But, I've been focused on how do I get this stuff done and not be in the office at 11 at night going, why didn't I finish
at 11 in the morning?
Which is how it was. So people have been turning to me. A lot of people that aren't used to working at home ask me, what are the secrets?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to know.
And that's the whole thing is I wrote a whole book about that. It's what do you do when you have ADHD and you have to be responsible for yourself?
Right.
You don't have an office full of people breathing down your neck. You're self-employed or you're a freelancer. And, for me, if I don't type, I don't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my gut is to not type as much as I can. Anything shiny, I'm there. And I know that about myself. So the thing that I find the most powerful is the Pomodoro technique. If I don't do Pomodoros when I need to get stuff done, I climb down a rabbit hole and do something that I want to do or something less odious, and I don't get stuff done. So every morning I make a list of the things that need to be done and do a Pomodoro for each one, 25 minutes.
I was going to ask you, you do the traditional 25-5. Yeah.
I do 25. I don't do 5.
Okay.
I wish I could say I do 25-5. I do more like 25-20.
Yeah.
But the
That's
thing
fair.
is, I use the 20. I use the 20 effectively and efficiently, I go for a walk and I listen to a podcast maybe, or I exercise. I take longer breaks, but they're productive breaks. They're not focused 25 minutes, but I'll go for a walk. Sometimes I'll answer email on my iPhone when I go for a walk, get it out of the way so I don't have to spend 25 minutes answering other emails, or I'll do triage while I'm walking. So they're not non-productive. So my breaks are longer, but I try to work in some work. But when I need to focus, when I need to be in the zone, I set the timer. I close the doors. I turn everything on do not disturb. If you've got kids or pets or family, you have to work with them. They have to work with you. You have to say, you got to understand that when I get in the zone, it takes me 20 or 25 minutes to get back in the zone if you interrupt me. So when I close the door and put the sign that says enter at your own risk up, please don't come in. And I had kids, they're grown now, but they were young at one time and they had to learn that you can't just run in dad's office screaming and talking, because that really isn't polite.
Right. Yeah. I would have to put outside of my office, even if the door closed, it didn't really matter because I have glass and so they could still see me. But if I put the chair in front of the doors in the hallway, then they knew, don't even go by the chair. Like, you can't even be next to the chair.
My office has glass doors and I put curtains on them.
Yeah.
You can't see in. That was terrible because they'd walk by and they'd be waving while I'm writing, and I'd see them out of the corner of my eye. And it's like, oh, that's only slightly less distracting than walking in and screaming.
Right.
I just have to say how much I love the idea of Nikki barring her office door with a chair.
Pretty much.
With a chair.
There's a safe cracking going on in here or something. That is amazing.
Well, and I would say, unless you're bleeding or dying, or even if you're just bleeding, like if you're dying, you can come bleeding. Get me. But
only if you're bleeding
profusely.
That's what I tell mine. Is if it's just a little Band-Aid thing, get your mother to take care of it.
Well, I'm curious, when you think about your list, and this is before we get into the technology stuff. How do you wrap your brain around how many things you put on your list on a given day? Like, what do you count as a win?
Okay, I'm going to give everyone listening, a freebie on me. If you go to workingsmarter.com, workingsmarterformacusers.com/free, you can download the worksheet I use every day.
Great.
I made it for myself after trying like 19 different journals and books that had plans and planners and stuff.
Oh, he's leaving. He's got another prop. Another prop.
Another prop. I ended up making my own. It's called the Super Plan Productivity Planning Worksheet. And you can download it. It's a PDF. Just print them. I print them for every day. And one of the things I like to tell people is print it. Don't put it on the computer and fill it out. Why? Because my computer screen's got 13 windows on it, and I will never see it again. If it's on my desk in handwriting, it can always be on top where I can see it. And I have the last section is random notes. That's where I jot down the stuff for tomorrow. And so I need it handy. So it's always where I can see it. It's always kind of in my brain. And what it's got is down the whole left side is hours. So I put 2 things per hour.
Okay.
That's 2 25 minutes with a break between. And I try to, start early and get the most important stuff done early in the day.
Is that because you work best at that time?
Yes. I'm sharper. I lose my sharpness as I get more like tired and distracted. Early morning is when I can get in the zone and stay there. Also, it's quiet.
Right.
It's like 7 to 9 o'clock. Nobody calls. The doorbell doesn't ring. There's nothing else going on. If I can get those 2 hours in for Pomodoros, I'm already 4 hours into a work day for most people. Right. I've finished. And then I isolate the 3 most important tasks on the same sheet. And I put them in a separate section. Even though they're Pomodoro'd, I want to make sure that I know those must be done before I do other stuff. I try to space things out. So I don't like to work on the same thing for more than 2 sessions in a row, because I feel like I just get burnt. I need to switch it off. But I'll list the 3 that are most important so I know to come back to them if I didn't finish them or whatever. And that's always staring me in the face. There's 3 things you got to finish today. These are them. They're in your list, but make sure that gets taken care of.
Okay.
And because of that, So that's my daily thing. And then for everything else, I stick it in the reminders app, which is just a to-do list. It's the one that comes with your Mac and your iPhone. But all I do is everything that isn't today or this week or current project goes in lists and reminders, which I look at maybe once a month. And I move things into the current thing, or I delete them and say, I'm never going to do that. I don't care anymore. But my to-do list got to be 11, 12 pages before I realized it wasn't effective. I was cherry picking fun things to do instead of doing the things in the order they should have been done. And yeah, it's like I'd finish something, cross it off, and yeah.
So I just want to be clear. Your reminders app is sort of what you're using as kind of a master kind of brain dumping list.
Long term.
It's long term.
Nothing in there needs to be addressed today. It's stuff that I want to do. Or if it's calendar, if it's date sensitive, it goes in the calendar and I get a reminder that, you need to start on this now. Like taxes. Yeah. I just moved that reminder out of the way.
Right.
Yeah, you got a little break.
It was supposed to be like for next weekend. It's like, okay, you got 2 weeks left. If you haven't done it yet, do it. But
okay.
Anyway, so time sensitive stuff goes on the calendar. Long-term thoughts, like when I was doing a TV show, I would have ideas for segments. I'd just throw them in there. I don't need to think about it now, but I don't want to forget it. And I can come back and look at all the things I thought of and pick the one that's best today. Later.
Well, that's my.
But my to-do list became totally ineffective. When it got to 10 or 11 pages, I thought, there's got to be a better way. And that's when I started testing self-journal and bullet journal. And I mean, they're all good in their ways. And I think I probably stole a little bit from everybody in making my little worksheet, but that's what I need. And I encourage people to try this and then figure out what they need and make their own if it's not.
Well,
this.
And I would add our technology. We have a technology area in our community, and it is full of people like me who are just sort of alpha to-do list people. And like, we just love it. Like our Pomodoro breaks are, let's go try a new to-do list system. That's just where we live. But my hunch is,
I've been there. And I gave it up for this reason. I spent more time playing with things and getting things done. I spent more time tinkering with my system than I did working. It's like, I could optimize this by making this automated. Oh boy. And an hour later I'd go, but I didn't do any work. I'm
sure, Pete, you don't relate to that at all, do you?
No, I don't know anything about this.
That's not what you do.
I've absolutely been there, Pete.
But this is my point. Like I
love those programs, but their time sucks for me. They're like a rabbit hole of their own. They're my cat video.
I have to really do some intentional planning on when I'm going to allow myself to do that, because I know now in my head that's my dopamine push, right? That's where I go.
My inclination is to try every new thing that comes out, like, mind mapping. That might be good for doing a to-do list. I'm going to have to try this mind map. That's how my head works. Yeah. But I've learned my lesson, and so I've got this really simple system now.
Do you think that correlates, Bob, with the amount of gray that's growing on your face? Because that's happened to me. Like, my simples have gotten progressively simple the more gray I end up with.
Well, that's because we remember less. It's like...
So this was my whole point. Look, I feel like if you don't have a simple system yet and you're struggling at home, it is quite possible that the simplest system of just having a checklist is going to save your bacon day after day after day. Try something. Don't feel like you have to go all in on an app to manage your tool. Isn't that strange advice for a technology podcast?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing is, have a plan.
Yeah.
Don't just wake up in the morning and walk in and say, I'm going to go to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you go into the office thinking, I'm going to just do whatever needs doing, you will end up doing the wrong stuff and you'll spend a lot of time doing it. If you walk in and say, I know what's important and this is what I need to work on today, then you're already way ahead of the game. When I would walk in the office and just look at the to-do list for what to do next, It was a disaster.
Let me ask you something. So when you have that plan and you're going into the office, because you work on your own, you're not in an environment where somebody's watching what you're doing. How are you pushing through motivation or just that self-discipline of actually coming in the morning and not just doing something else?
I found a really easy solution here. Let me stand up and show you. But I say the hardest part about about writing is keeping your ass in the chair. So I have straps on my chair. I strap my ass to the chair for 25 minutes at a pop.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding.
I was so not expecting that answer.
So I have ADHD, and that is one solution.
Wow,
my mind
fantastic.
Is so blown right now. That is the best thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
My favorite quote is the hardest part about being a writer is keeping your ass in the chair. Yeah. And when I saw that, I thought, oh my God, an analog solution.
That is amazing.
To keeping my ass in the... I love it. I love it. And by the way, it's a lumbar support, so it straightens my back up. If I don't have the straps on, it's got a hump that makes me sit up straight, which helps me not get backaches from sitting and typing so long.
Wow.
And unfortunately, I think they're out of business. It was called Posture Keeper, and it was $89. Wow. And I wrote her a beautiful endorsement. I wrote a whole column about it. I said, if you're having trouble getting stuff done, just strap your ass to the chair and set a timer and don't undo the straps until it's done. Because then your fingers will be on the keyboard. You might as well work.
Wow, that's
I'm not kidding. That is, I have seen a lot of things in 10 years of doing the show, and I've never seen an ADHD solution quite like as inventive as that.
Yeah, fantastic.
And what's funny is I did not plan that. It's like when started talking about how do you self-motivate at home. Well, I just attached myself to the chair. If I could glue my hands to the keyboard, I would. Then I'd have no choice, right?
Brilliant.
Wow, that's awesome.
This is one of the things I came up with. I don't put the straps on all that often anymore. Yeah. But there have been times when I've said, oh my God, I'm fidgety. I don't want to work. I'm going to strap in for 25 minutes and
do what you can.
Get this done. Yeah. Get it done.
That's awesome.
Well, and I imagine too, like just the physical sensation of the straps on your shoulders is enough of a kind of device that says, okay, I'm in work mode now. It's serious.
I mean, they're just backpack straps. You can get loose if you want, but it's like a constant reminder for me, and it works.
Next level is if you have your wife come in and actually lock it to you, so you really can't get out.
If you're really having problems, you might want the one with the watch. But then you might also want that app that like doesn't let you use the internet for 30 minutes, no matter what you do. I forget what it's called. I wrote about it in the book, and I said, this is pretty drastic because there's no way to override it. It's designed for someone that's absolutely going to jump down a rabbit hole, and it will, It goes deep in the guts of your system to keep you from opening anything. Apps.
All right. Yeah. I gotta ask your insights at a higher level. We've all made this transition to working at home, right? And I'm in this. I too work out of my house. Nikki, we work out of our house, and the number of people who just sort of descend upon my daily life is they never leave their homes anymore. It's actually gone way, way up because they're not at work. What's your sense as you kind of survey the landscape about how we, the people, are doing with regard to our technology? Do we get it? Are we having kind of an easy transition? What are you seeing?
I think so. Yesterday, I had a video briefing. Now, the thing is, I would have had a video briefing anyway, but they weren't that used to it. These are people who are used to going out and doing live dog and pony shows, and now they're doing it on Zoom or GoToMeeting or something. And they were uncomfortable with it, but they were troopers. I mean, they had technical problems, and I think people are adapting very well. And I think a lot of people, or most people, are having a sense of humor about it. I know the zombie apocalypse hashtag is huge. Because that's what it feels like. It's like you go walk outside, you can't help but wonder when the next person's going to shout
out of the bushes.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, because there's nobody there. It's like my neighborhood is, I go out for walks with my dog and usually I see a dozen people between here and the park, 4 blocks away. And mostly lately, maybe one person out and they avoid me like the plague.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Too soon, Bob.
And I avoid them. But I do think so far, most people are handling it pretty well. And I don't think a lot of people are cracking under the stress yet.
Yeah.
But I think if it goes on a lot longer, people who aren't used to it. See, I'm used to it. To me, not going out for 4 days feels normal. I mean, sometimes I don't have to. And the traffic in Austin is so bad that if I don't have to go out, I try not to. So it's pretty normal for me, but I realize that people who are used to jumping in the car, going to work, going to the grocery store, going out for drinks after work, it's making them a little stir crazy. And so I wrote a column about things to do during the zombie apocalypse. If you're home and you find yourself watching cat videos or binge watching Netflix or something, here are a couple of things you could do that are more constructive.
You'll have to give us the link to that so we can put it in our show notes.
Yeah. Got it.
Absolutely.
Show notes already. Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a good call. Read a book. Pick up some paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or get the Libby app and check a book out of your library,
which is exceptional
for free.
Yeah, the Libby app is fantastic, and you know what? It also lets you Canopy, I think, is the one that actually lets you check movies out from your library for free, which is an exceptional app.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. But I was trying to do a more intellectual thing because you can stream lots of stuff. Right.
What's your sense of essential services for those who are transitioning from work? What are the things they need to be thinking about to get and keep their home technology and sanity up to snuff?
So all of your devices have do not disturb modes. Learn to use them, because if you need to work, that email that you're getting a notification about isn't important enough to interrupt your work. So I know how to turn all of my devices on Do Not Disturb with one click. So on the Mac, you click the upper right corner where the little notification center icon is. You option click it and it just turns it on till tomorrow. You can turn it off when you're done, but I just option click. You can open it and flick the switch. Well, there's a good shortcut, but that's the fast way.
Wait, on the left
Same thing
or
with
right?
your idevices.
The right.
The far right.
The far right. It's there are 3 dots with
the one
lines.
that'll bring out the
notification. Oh my gosh, it's right there.
Option click that.
So if you option click that, it puts you in Do Not Disturb. And if you option click it again, it turns it off. So that's what I do. Same thing with the phones. Phone, iPad, it's on the control center. So you can just swipe up, tap, done. Now I can do what I need to do, and I don't have to worry about my technology interrupting me, because if it goes ding, I have to look.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's just the way my brain works. So I shut them up. And people know that. It's like people used to expect me to answer a text in like 3 seconds. Now everybody knows, give it at least 25 minutes. It's like, wait till he finishes the Pomodoro and he'll get back to you.
You've already mentioned Zoom in terms of getting in touch. I mean, Zoom is having a hell of a 2 weeks. You got to know.
It's the right platform at the right time for this. My wife had a Zoom happy hour the other night. Yeah. Virtual happy hour with 4 of they used to go out. All the neighborhood ladies would go out a couple times a month. And so they all Zoomed. It was pretty cute. My wife was like, I downloaded Zoom. It doesn't do what it's supposed to. I looked at it. She downloaded something that adds a zoom lens to your camera.
I
said,
different app.
No, that's not Zoom. That's called, and it was called Zoom app.
Oh, that's cheating.
Did you look at the description? Was it like, did it say video conferencing? Yeah. No. Oh, well. But she was so cute. She sat outside so that people would see the beautiful greenery in the backyard, and she ordered me to put on a bow tie.
Oh, good. You're going full Downton Abbey.
Bring her hors d'oeuvres.
That's lovely.
Yeah. I brought hors d'oeuvres and I served her a mojito.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, her friends loved it.
Great.
And I was in shorts. I'm like in a bow tie and white shirt. and shorts and sandals. But you can only see me from here
That's
up.
right.
So
it doesn't matter.
It was cute. But I think people are really adapting to this. I mean, those people have no tech at all. My wife is like, how does my phone work again? How do I send a text?
Well, and that's the thing we're seeing. Like, there's
techy.
A lot of fear for a lot of people who are used to having all this stuff just taken care of for them at the office. And I think it is a very real sense of kind of desperation when now you just have to make everything work.
Well, if you're a Mac user and your friends are Mac users, you've got FaceTime built in. And you can video conference with a bunch of people at once in the Messages app for free. And, they'll be shocked when I've been FaceTiming a bunch of my, people I haven't talked to in a while. Rather than just calling, I just FaceTime.
Yeah.
They're always shocked. Sometimes they don't answer. But when they do, it's really fun to see someone face to face and talk to them rather than just.
I've been seeing that as a very normal thing. Like my kids, it's either FaceTime or Zoom or whatever or Google Meet. I think they can spin up a voice and video. They can do the video, and it's just one of those things that has become very quickly in terms of the adoption phase. It has become in 2 weeks the standard way of communicating.
Well, it's so easy, and especially Mac to Mac or Mac to iPhone, it's all built in. You don't have to get an app or anything. It just works. It's right there when you try to call someone. If you tap a different button, you get a FaceTime video call.
Yeah,
that's great. And my mother-in-law even does it. She's 88.
That's fantastic.
But she's been doing it for a while. Yeah, she thinks, the grandkids told her that. It's like, hey, you got an iPad. You can just press that button and video. Oh, cool.
Well,
So our family's big on like video chatting, but I have to say my kids are bigger on texting.
Oh, okay.
Because it's asynchronous.
Right.
It's like they don't answer their phones. Sometimes they don't answer their videos, but they're great about messages. Text message
right there.
Right.
I found it interesting. We're starting to have this kind of touch us personally, and know that others are increasingly, as the days go on, are seeing it touch them. And we have, a dear friend's father who's in ICU in Washington, and turning on video and running a quick Zoom meeting from his iPad has been, essential because no one can go see him. He's completely alone. And
well, especially for anybody that's in quarantine or isolation, this is fabulous.
It is just
I mean, I take it for granted because I use it all the time, but I realize that a lot of less tech savvy people don't really get that this is so available and easy and really free if you're on Wi-Fi, You're not paying for data.
So what are your other essentials? We've talked about your Pomodoro. Do you use an app for Pomodoro, or do you just use, God forbid, a clock?
No, I depends. Mostly I use an app on the Mac called ZoneBox. It's free, and it lets me write down I like two things about it. Number one, in the morning, I just load up all my day's Pomodoros in a list, and I can just delete them as I finish them. But more than that, it puts a purple progress bar in the menu bar.
Oh, nice.
So at 13 minutes, it's halfway across the menu bar, and I can just look at that and know how much farther it is to the end. And I got to know that. It's like, if I don't know that, I'll spend all my time obsessing about how much time has elapsed, how much is left. So if I can see it, it's like, okay, I can do 13 more minutes. It also puts the numerical value. So the number of minutes left and the purple bar are in the menu bar and in its window if you've got its window showing. So I can always see where I'm at in my Pomodoros, and when I'm done, I delete them, or if I didn't finish it, I can move it down the list and do it again later. It's a flexible way to keep track and do the timer and have it right in front of me so I don't have to look around. I also have a little timer on my desk that I can use in a pinch, and I've used my iPhone timer when I'm traveling or something.
Sure.
And for some reason, don't want to use something on the Mac.
Sure.
Sometimes I work when I'm not at my Mac, and then I have to use a regular timer. But it doesn't matter what timer or what app. The Pomodoro technique works if you make it work.
Right.
It's all about saying, I'm going to spend 25 minutes focused on one thing and one thing only, and I'm going to work on it as intensely as I can. And then I'll take a break and do something fun. And that's the carrot and stick.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
All right. So we've got communication. We've got managing your time against your work. We've got keep it simple, stupid. Use paper for daily tasks. Any other essentials we need to be thinking about?
Have a plan. Don't walk in the office thinking, I'll just do it. Write down the things that need to be done somehow. If you don't have a plan, then you're just fumbling around in the dark and you're wasting all that time trying to decide what to do, much less whether you pick the right thing. Spend 5 minutes every morning thinking about your day and what needs doing, and fill out a form or something. But make sure that you have a concrete list of things that need to happen today. Because if you have it physically, if it's there, if it's in front of you, you tend to do more of them. Even if you don't do them all, you're going to be cognizant. And unless that stuff's in front of me,
see it.
Other stuff becomes important.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So having that on top of everything on my desk and being able to go over and look at it and see what's left, it works for me.
You have a map. I mean, you're guided at least, right? So you have direction.
Yes. And I think it's really important to have a plan every day, or you end up spending a lot of time determining what's next and usually not doing it well. You know, if you've got a pile of things to do and you haven't really thought through what needs to be done by 5 o'clock today, you'll probably pick the wrong thing. And you'll find out later that you have to do something by 5 o'clock and you'll go crazy. And I hate that feeling. So I've learned how to almost eliminate it. I don't know.
Well, that may be the high bar, right? Almost eliminate. I feel like it's been 20 years.
I think that might be the best I can do.
20 years, and that is about as good as I feel on any given day.
I do. At least I know now. You know, it used to be I didn't even know and would spend way more time. Now, if it happens, I catch myself and I go, okay, you don't have time for this. But I'm trained. I mean, 20 years of training. It's like, it took a long time.
That's exactly it. And that's something that I would say as a coach out there for all those people that are working from home right now. They're not used to working from home and they haven't had the practice and the time that the three of us have had to get adjusted, to definitely give yourself a lot of grace. And it's, just do the best you can, right? Expectations right now should not be at their highest level.
Sometimes you just have to say, okay,
this happened.
I'm okay. I did the best I could and that's it. I'm done. Instead of obsessing. Because usually if I think I didn't do the best I could, it bothers me until I fix it.
Well, that's sort of on the backside for me. The other side is just overthinking the front end. Like working at home doesn't have to be that different than working at work, right? I mean, you can write documents, you can send emails, receive emails, you can do video calls. There are some challenging things when it comes to accessing private information. I've gotten some questions from folks who are struggling with accessing and making their VPNs work and accessing their work resources. Can you talk a little bit about explain what's a VPN service do and what does it allow you to access?
Yes.
How's that work?
So my wife is a nurse, and so she has to access her healthcare portals and stuff securely. The VPN, if you run it on a device, it creates a secure tunnel, and nobody can see what's in the tunnel. So if you're talking to a database at a hospital or something, if you make an ordinary connection, the data travels. It's encrypted, but it travels in the clear, and people can see that you're connected to a hospital database. When you're on a VPN, all it can see is that you're there. It doesn't know what you've connected to, and it can't see what's passing between it. So many high security industries want you to use a virtual private network, a VPN, when you access anything sensitive. And it used to be a real hassle. It used to be just really difficult to administrate and keep running and fine tune. And in the past few years, it's become a kind of a no-brainer. You can just get an app and pay a couple bucks a month and your device will just do it.
Do you have a favorite?
What's mine called? Hold on. I don't even know what it's called. I mean, the one I'm using is ExpressVPN,
but I've also That's the ones?
That's it.
Yeah,
ExpressVPN.
They're so easy and fast. I think that was the initial concern from a lot of folks, is that as soon as you start encrypting your connection via VPN, everything slows down. And I haven't had that experience.
I haven't noticed any. I hardly ever use it, because here's the thing: I don't do a lot of secure stuff, and mostly when I'm on my phone, I'm on cellular, where it doesn't matter. So it's only for Wi-Fi. And so when I'm on Wi-Fi, if I want to go look at my bank stuff or interact with my credit card, I will use my VPN.
The challenge is if you're at a coffee shop, right? You're at a coffee shop, you turn on your VPN. Yep.
Or at an airport, or any place where you're using public Wi-Fi, you'd want to use a VPN. Now here's a tip: if you want to be secure, turn off Wi-Fi and let your cellular data do the connection to your sensitive thing, because that is encrypted end to end. And while they might be able to see that you're connected to something, they can't see what you're sending back and forth. So if you turn off Wi-Fi, you eliminate the threat of your stuff being intercepted or misused. So if I'm at a coffee shop, if I didn't have a VPN, like I don't think I have it installed on my MacBook. So if I was at a coffee shop using my MacBook Pro, I would turn on my cellular modem.
Yeah.
I would turn on hotspot on my phone and use that, not Starbucks Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Well,
and that way, that you're protected even without a VPN, but that uses up your data.
We've been talking about just consumer VPNs. Some companies require you to use their VPN because it tunnels directly into specific servers to access privileged information.
Correct. But if you work for that company, you have IT people.
Call them. You can Zoom them. Look how we bring it all back around. I have been... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there was a question about HIPAA friendly tech. And I would say that kind of goes back to, if you're in an environment where you have to have HIPAA friendly tech, you need to talk to your IT people. You need to talk to your manager. You need to talk to them to kind of figure out.
I do want to talk about HIPAA real quick, if I could just jump in, because it is more complicated than maybe it sounds like we're making it, because a number of services, like for example, Zoom. First of all, what is HIPAA? HIPAA is the Health Insurance Privacy Act, right? And so it allows you to exchange personally identifying information with authorized HIPAA covered entities, right? If you could be a psychotherapist working out of your home office, you could be an insurance broker, you could be working for a large insurance company. All of those things are HIPAA entities, protected entities, or covered entities, they call them. And the challenge is, there are two levels of sort of HIPAA that I've been seeing in the marketplace. Zoom is HIPAA meets the requirements of HIPAA in terms of their technology. It is not. You are not covered under HIPAA by just using Zoom. To do that, you have to have a business associate agreement. That actually is the contract that Zoom signs on your behalf to become your HIPAA authorized broker of transmit. So if anything is ever, if any personally identifying information is ever leaked as a result of using Zoom, Zoom then becomes your authorized representative, and you are thus protected. To do that on Zoom, you've got to pay $200 additionally a month to become to get that business associate agreement. And there are companies like VC and Doxy.me. These are telemedicine companies that you have to have that BAA in place in order to be covered and protected. So there is, I'm going to put a link in the show notes on from the fast facts from the HHS.gov, so that you can see if you're dealing with any personal private information, you have to have a BAA in place. You can't just use Zoom and think you're protected. You are not. Same thing with Google Apps. You can get a BAA in place if you're using Google Apps. All of these things, it's really important. Because of the time that we are living in right now, HHS has relaxed some of the requirements because so many therapists and SLPs and all of these people who used to deal directly directly in their offices are now at home. They have relaxed some of the regulations so that you can get around some of the filing requirements and some of the protections. But please, it varies by state. It's complicated. You've got to look at your own state's regulations, your licensing board regulations, and HHS for the overarching policy. Sorry, Nikki, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just thinking, because I work with a couple of therapists myself, and I know that is the case. And they have, like, one particular therapist has their own program that has already been filtered this. Yeah. HIPPA-fied. So like they're okay to just go use it. So are you talking to the people? Because I guess my point of, talk to your manager, talk to your IT people. The business side of whoever you work for should know these things. So are you talking to the people that are like independent practices?
Yeah, because those practices have been turned upside down.
Right.
And there are so many of them, right? There really are so many of them. And I think that one of the question that we got was specifically this: I'd like some discussion on HIPAA-friendly tech, like Ordinary, in civilian settings. I'd use things like Slack, Google Voice, text, etc. But there are tech solutions that are HIPAA-friendly and work. Are there tech solutions that are HIPAA-friendly and work better than others? I'd also like a good Kanban-style task tracker that's HIPAA-friendly. I'd usually use Trello. Well, that's a really good question. If you are including personally identifying information about a client or a patient that normally would be protected information, Trello is not an option for you, right? You cannot use it because they don't even offer a BAA. Right? You can't get one. So that's why I bring up a BAA. If you are moving home and you want to use a personal technology solution that is housed on the web in a place where you don't know where that data lives, you have to have that level of agreement with that organization. And so that's really important. And I think, Nikki, to your point, this question gets to the nuance of your statement. Just because you work for a big company, now that you're at home, you might be intrigued to use a custom service that is available to, everybody. You might just decide, I'm going to put together a Trello board and start tracking my stuff on it.
I would hope that you don't, because I just think like my daughter's therapist we went through all kinds of hoops for them to talk, and, don't do that. Like, if you have
at least that's do the research first. Ask that question of whatever provider that you're doing. And there are all kinds of places of tools right now that are spinning up around telemedicine, like productivity and telemedicine. And it's important to be looking at those services. So I'll move on from that, but I've been helping a lot of therapists in the last 2 weeks make this transition, and it's vastly more complicated than any of them know. So, we say, like, please don't do this. But that is an easy answer to people who are really struggling to move their entire profession to a home office and they've never done it.
Well, and again, I'm separating that from the solo entrepreneur who has their own practice. Like, I totally get that. You're on your own. The people that work for that have that business structure, rely on them too. Like they're a resource.
But little people need to do exactly what Pete's saying. You have to do the research and find out what I'm not a real doctor. I just play one on TV.
Us too, right? We just pretend.
All right.
Well, it's my middle name, but it doesn't mean you're a real doctor.
I got one more technical sort of infrastructural question that we got before we get
Is the internet going to break?
Is the internet going to break, Bob?
I don't think so. It might, but the indications are that it can handle all the traffic. I don't know if Zoom can handle all the traffic it's going to get in the next few weeks. I don't know how they're fixed, but the internet in general is very robust and very redundant. Traffic can flow a lot of different ways. And I don't see any indications that, we've hit capacity or that any parts of it are broken. So I think you'd get some warning. I think you'd start to see complaints from people, the internet's down before it goes down. But I think it's unlikely. I don't know. It seems like it's built with enough robust fault tolerance that no matter what part of it got affected, most of it would still work anyway. It's not one thing that can be broken. It's a lot of interconnected parts that are redundant. And if one fails, something else can take over for it. And it may slow down because it's going to be getting a lot more traffic than usual, but I don't think it'll break.
I had one day where I live right in the middle of Portland's Intel community, right? And so that first day that our big Intel facilities went work at home, we had thousands of people in my neighborhood all turn on their computers at the same time. And I felt the glitch. I was getting a fraction of the speed that I pay for, but
Are you on a cable modem?
And so
really?
Yes. And so
but there was so much demand on your
much
pipe.
Demand. And because, all that internet that was going to one facility and managed with their infrastructure is now on our home. I'll tell you, it has been just smooth sailing ever since. I've been really impressed with how quickly it is. I read an article from an interview with AT&T said, we've seen our demand up 70%. But we provision for overcapacity. We provision to be resilient, just as you were saying, Bob. It feels like we're okay.
I've tested my cable modem speeds, and yes, they are a little slower during the day, but they always would fluctuate based on load, and they're not slow. They're just a little behind what they would be if the kids weren't in school. If the kids were in school and people were at work in their offices. But they're still darn good. I didn't notice any time where it really fell off noticeably. And I've been testing regularly because I want to know if it's like starting.
Well, I'm curious. Speaking of just home tech and devices, what do you recommend for folks who are feeling the pressure? Now, let's just say, families at home, kids are trying to do school online, they're watching a lot of stuff, and you're trying to get your job done. I look at my router and I am incredibly pleased with how well it is handled. But I think about my old router and it was terrible. Do you have any recommendations for home routing tech that it's easy for folks?
Oh, I love my routing tech. It's Eero.
Okay.
EER. It's a mesh. It costs $299 for 3 nodes, a home base station and 2 satellites. It covers my whole house way better than my other single router and an extender. Mm-hmm. Way better. I have coverage in the yard where I didn't have any. Good coverage. I can go on my deck and work. I can go in my garage now. The whole house is covered. It does security. It intercepts threats. It has a really great iOS app that shows me whatever I need to know. It shows me who's connected, which devices are connected. It lets me know when someone new joins the network. All kinds of stuff my old router didn't do. But it's very simple. I set it up in 5 minutes. Basically, you plug it in, one connection, and you're done. It's fabulous consumer tech.
Excellent.
If you don't have a router or your internet coverage around your house from Wi-Fi isn't great, look at this stuff. I think Amazon just bought them not too long ago, but the product is still great. As far as I can tell, they're improving it regularly. The app gets updated all the time. I actually bought their $10 a month security package because it includes 1Password for my family, which I was paying $5.99 a month for before. And it does a bunch of other stuff. And it comes with a VPN. I don't know if it's Express VPN.
Well, and that's really handy because you have put a VPN on your router and it protects all the traffic to your house. Any devices.
Correct. I like the Eero stuff a lot. And if you're not a techie, you'll love the app. It's really simple. It's all graphical. There's nothing to really configure. Basically plug it in, press the button, and it works.
Great recommendation. Eero, link in the show notes if you can't find it. But again, Amazon bottom. It's easy to find on Amazon. If you're looking for something like that, it might really help improve your home speeds if your old router is struggling. That's it. Now, Bob, we got to give you a chance to talk about this course that you're doing.
Oh, well, it's called Working Smarter for Mac Users. It's based on the book of the same name. A lot of people asked if I was going to teach a class about it. And so I tried a new thing and created a 5-hour online course. And it's been really just overwhelming, gratifying for me Because when I sell a book, I don't really have any contact with the person after that. Maybe they'll send me a note at the end and say thank you or it helped or whatever. But with an online course, I'm the instructor, and I'm also the guy that answers questions on the discussion boards. And so I'm like in contact with the students when they have a problem. I'm the one they talk to, and so I get good feedback out of this that I never got from the book. The host that I use, Thinkific, it's just great. I made one video and they optimized it for all platforms. You can watch the lessons anywhere, on any device that's got a web browser and a good internet connection. The lessons are mostly under 10 minutes because I have ADHD. and a lot of them are under 5 minutes because I thought small digestible chunks. It's like if something took more than 15 minutes, it's broken up over a couple of segments. So you can really take this stuff a little at a time. Set aside 20 minutes a day and watch 1 or 2 lessons. And in a month, you'll be done and you'll just have a mountain of knowledge. And you're the first to hear this. So because of the zombie apocalypse, I was going to try to offer the course at a massively reduced cost. I'd love to offer it for free, but I pay for my students on Thinkific. It's a software as a service. So to make sure that I can service all the students, I'm gonna drop the price 90%. So it sells for $4.99, and you can get it now for the next until the zombies go away for $49.
Wow!
And I'm gonna make this. This will be. It'll take a few minutes after the show ends for me to create the coupon code and make it happen. But I'm going to make this coupon code Take Control ADHD.
Perfect.
And that will be for 90% off. And you can go to my website, workingsmarterformacusers.com, and in the buy section, just click on the course, and this coupon code will get you 90% off.
That's fantastic.
That's
Thank you.
Very generous. Thank you so much for sharing that with the community.
I wish I could give it away for free. If I didn't have to pay for each student I sign up, I would give it away for free until it was full, until I couldn't handle any more students. But if you're bored at home and you've got issues with focus and getting stuff done, believe me, it'll be the best $49 you ever spent. And by the way, I have a money back guarantee, 30-day money back guarantee, even for $49. If you take the course and it doesn't do it for you, ask for a refund. Cheerful. Happy to do it. Haven't had to yet.
Perfect. I want to say on behalf of Bob there that if you're a Mac user and you learned that option click the notification icon to go into Do Not Disturb, or D&D, as those of us in the business say, that course is worth every bit of its $49. Worth every bit of the $4.99, I'll tell you that, because I just learned that trick. And I've even been through the book, but because of ADHD, I didn't remember that clearly. So that's a great trick. So thank you so much, Bob, for sharing there.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, my pleasure. If you're going to take the course, leave a message in one of the discussion boards and say hi, and even if you don't have a question.
Well, thank you, friend, for stopping by. We sure appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Anytime. Always happy to do this. It's my obsession. I mean, this is not maybe the most profitable thing I could do, but it's the thing I love most. So
keep doing it.
I keep doing it.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
You guys keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Love the podcast.
Thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to the show. We sure appreciate your time and your attention. On behalf of the great Bob, Dr. Mac, LeVitus, and Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll catch you next time right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.